A very good evening. From stories around the world to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. I'm Vidushni Sadish Kumar.
A very good evening. I'm Lakshitendra Singhal, and to start off, we take a look at the headlines for tonight.
Senior government officials Lalit Veeratunga and Anusha Palpita have been acquitted and released from the silk cloth case. All the schools excluding those in Western Province and isolated areas set to commence on the 23rd. A series of special medical clinics for the public in isolated areas from tomorrow onward. President says his priority is to attract investments instead of foreign borrowings. Rishad Batiuddin reveals that he may have signed for the marriage of one of the assassins of the Easter Sunday attack. A COVID-19 related death in every 17 seconds in Europe, the World Health Organization says.
On to those and other stories in detail, starting off with your top story for tonight. Former Secretary to the President Lalit Veeratunga and former Director General of the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission Anusha Palpita, whom was sentenced to 3 years of rigorous imprisonment and penalties over the silk cloth court case and later released on bail, were acquitted and released from the charges by the Court of Appeal today. The decision was declared by the Court of Appeal judge bench comprised of Justices Kumuduni Wickramasinghe and Devika Abeyratna. Declaring the decision, Justice Kumuduni Wickramasinghe mentioned that the decision was reached after thoroughly considering the submissions presented by the party of the petitioners and the Attorney General. Mentioning that both the defendants of this case are senior government officials, the judge in her declaration said that the officials have acted within the legal framework designated to them. The judge further mentioned that after considering the presented evidence and documents, no supportive evidence has revealed that the defendants have utilized the state funds irregularly and dishonestly. Accordingly, pointing out that the 3 indictments filed against the defendants over the misappropriation of state funds in the High Court have not been proven without a justifiable reservation, the judge acquitted and released the defendants. The judge bench ordered the Registrar of the Court of Appeal to direct a copy of the verdict to the Colombo High Court for further reference. The Attorney General filed the case against former Secretary to the President Lalit Veeratunga and former Director General of the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission Anusha Palpita during the previous Yahapalana government period on the charges of misappropriation of 600 million rupees belonging to the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission to distribute silk clothes to all the temples in the country during the 2015 presidential election period. Both the defendants were found guilty on the charges levelled against them on the 7th of September 2017 by the Colombo High Court and imposed a sentence of 3 years rigorous imprisonment and a fine of 2 million rupees each. Then Colombo High Court Judge Gihan Kulatunga also mentioned in his decision that the defendants have also to pay a compensation of 50 million rupees. Both the defendants filed petitions with the Court of Appeal claiming that the imposition of penalties on them are illegal and acquit them from all charges made against them. Following a lengthy hearing, the Court of Appeal declared the relevant decision today.
The government has decided to reopen all the schools in the island except in the Western Province and isolated areas from November 23rd. Education Minister Chief Prelate mentioned this at a media briefing held today. Minister Chief Prelate said that all schools, excluding those in the Western Province and isolated areas, as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, will resume academic activities from next week for the remainder of the year. Accordingly, the Minister of Education decided to reopen schools from Monday, 23rd of November. He added, the minister said that a decision has been taken to reopen schools and conduct academic activities only for students from grades 6 to 13.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that Sri Lanka has made it a priority to attract investments instead of further foreign borrowings in its development drive. The president indicated that his prime objective is to achieve a similar rural development progress which China has reached to improve the living standards of the rural population in Sri Lanka. The newly appointed ambassador of China to Sri Lanka, Kui Zeng Hong, presented his credentials to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the president's house today. During the brief cordial discussion with the Chinese ambassador following the ceremony, President Rajapaksa expressed his satisfaction over the long-standing and lasting cooperation and friendship with mutual benefits between Sri Lanka and China. The President recollected the support extended by China towards Sri Lanka's infrastructure development, especially after winning the war against separatism. The President indicated that several segments of the society criticized the cooperation between China and Sri Lanka. The argument was that these projects would not be successful, but the truth is the opposite, he added. The President said that projects started with the assistance of China have high income generation and employment creation potentials. He pointed out that his expectation is to see the full completion of these projects before the end of his tenure. President Rajapaksa emphasized on the vast number of investment opportunities available in the country, and agricultural sector, communication technology and education are special among them. He said that livelihood of around 30% of the population of Sri Lanka depends on rural agriculture. In response, Ambassador Zeng Hong said that his government is prepared to make the maximum possible contribution to the success of Sri Lanka's economic and social development endeavors. Extending President Xi Jinping's good wishes to President Rajapaksa, the Chinese envoy said he aims to further enhance long-standing friendship between the two countries and to strengthen development and strategic cooperation. He said that after assuming office, President Rajapaksa has united the people of Sri Lanka and guided the country on the path of economic growth while improving the living standards of the people. He also said that China wishes to see Sri Lanka emerge as a prosperous nation. Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena was also present at this occasion.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa laid the foundation stone inaugurating the construction of Siapatha housing project consisting of 16,000 new housing units in Deulapitiya, Mardagahamula area yesterday. The new housing project was initiated under the concept of House for Each Family. Under the project, a multi-storied housing complex consists of 100 housing units will be constructed covering each electoral division in the country. Accordingly, 16,000 housing units covering 160 electoral divisions in the country will be constructed. The Mardagahamula housing project is a 5-storied housing complex. This housing project has been initiated as a joint venture with Ministry of Urban Development and Housing, State Ministry of Rural Housing and Construction and Building Material Industry Promotion and National Housing Development Authority. In parallel to the project, construction of housing projects covering several areas was commenced yesterday. Mahasanga handed over the project proposal titled Mihidu Houses Housing Scheme to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa to construct houses for homeless parents who offered their children to the Buddha Sasana. The monetary reward for the winner, who secured more than 240 million rupees in her lottery win, which is considered as the biggest win in the lottery history in the country, was handed over by the Prime Minister. In addition, the Premier also handed over the monetary rewards worth more than 750 million rupees for the lottery winners. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga, State Ministers Indika Anuruddha and Lohan Ratwatta and parliamentarians were present at this occasion. Meanwhile, the construction of the second terminal of the Kattanayake Bandaranaike International Airport was commenced yesterday. It was held with the presence of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The project was initiated in 2014 with the participation of then Prime Minister of Japan Shinzo Abe during the presidential tenure of present Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. However, the construction work was suspended due to the delays in implementing the project during the Yahapalana governmental period. Accordingly, with the appointment of the present government, immediate steps were taken to resume the project, fulfilling a pledge of the Vision of Prosperity policy framework of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The construction work of the project was initiated, marking the first anniversary of the presidential tenure of the President and the birthday of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The Ministry of Health says that a total of 12,903 COVID-19 recoveries have been recorded in the country at present. Meanwhile, 316 fully recovered patients have left the hospitals today. A batch of 25 patients at COVID-19 treatment centers in Polonnaru district have left the centers today following their complete recovery from the disease. The recovered patients have been identified as residents from Colombo, Badulla, Nuwara and Hambantota districts. A total of 8,504 COVID-19 recoveries were reported in the country since the beginning of this month. The highest number of recoveries was reported on the 5th of November. Another 316 recoveries were recorded today. The percentage of COVID-19 recoveries in the country has increased up to 69.2%, while the percentage of active COVID-19 patients currently receiving treatment stands at 30.43%. A total of 327 COVID-19 patients were detected from the country yesterday. Meanwhile, 377 recoveries were recorded yesterday. The Director General of Health Services has said that a specialist consultancy service and an ambulance service said to be initiated for the convenience of the residents in isolated areas within Colombo municipality limits from tomorrow onwards. The ambulance service can be obtained via 011 3422 558. A total of 11,105 PCR tests were conducted yesterday. Accordingly, 753 PCR tests have been conducted in the country at present. A total of 243 COVID-19 patients were detected from the country today. The patients have been identified as close contacts of the Palliaguda COVID-19 cluster. 5 police officers attached to Peradeniya police station have been tested positive for COVID-19. Meanwhile, the Special Active Task Review Committee established at the Ministry of Health to take decisions on special initiatives to control the spread of COVID-19 in the country was convened yesterday. The meeting was presided by Minister Pavitra Vanniyarachi. The minister said that a health officer should inquire whether the activities of the economic centres, rented houses, schools and export promotion zones have been conducted adhering to health guidelines. Divisional secretariats in areas without travel restrictions in Western Province have resumed issuing vehicle revenue licenses. The Department of Government Information said that vehicle revenue licenses can be obtained for the period between October 7th and December 31st without any penalties. 24 police divisions in Western Province are currently in isolation, which includes 17 police divisions in Colombo district and 7 police divisions in the Gampaha district.
Chief Epidemiologist Dr. Sudat Samaravira says that the rapid antigen testing has been commenced to detect COVID-19 patients in the country. He made these remarks at a media briefing today.
Now we have started to use antigen-based rapid diagnostic tests to identify COVID-19 patients. There are many advantages of that. The one thing is that there is no need of a laboratory to do this test. This test will be carried out where the sample is taken on the field or in a hospital, as well as that to get the results of this test, it takes only a half an hour time, so that very fast that we will be able to identify COVID-19 cases, and this help us to isolate them from others in order to prevent any further spread of the disease. And also there are some indications that we can use this COVID-19, this antigen-based rapid diagnostic test. It is not all the time that we can use it. The one of the main important category that we can use this is the first level contacts of or close contacts of a non-COVID-19 patient. So that after that we know that these people are close contacts, we can use this test to identify COVID-19 patients among them. And also when the patients come to the hospitals, that we use this in certain instances. One instance is that when the patients are admitted to the hospital suspicious of COVID-19 with clinical symptoms, then we can use this as a preliminary test to identify whether they are COVID-19 patients or not.
Minister Rohitha Abegunawardena says that the operations at the Colombo port have returned to the normal efficiency without any hindrances, while Colombo port employees currently abroad and retired have been recalled for the services. The minister made these remarks while engaging in an observational tour in the port premises. Chairman of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, retired General Dayarat Naika, also made these remarks in this regard.
And get the port running, because port is a place where we can't close even for a minute or a day, because 24/7 we have to run the port for a country's requirement. 99.7% export import is going through the port. So therefore you understand the value of most of our imports, everything has come through the port. Then there are so many other related activities. So all that has to be maintained, whether we have corona or otherwise with the country closed, or otherwise we have to keep the port running. So in order to do that, we have taken all possible measures to get the port running, and with everybody's support, especially His Excellency the President is very keen on a daily basis. He is keep checking on these things, and the Minister and the crowd and the Prime Minister and the government, everyone is supporting us to keep the port activities running. Therefore, with that support, we are getting the port to run smoothly now with all these difficulties. Basically, it has now come to the normalcy, we can say.
And in more stories from home, today is the second day of the debate on the second reading of the Budget 2021. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa visited the Parliament during the debate this morning. This marks the first occasion that President Rajapaksa sat in the House after addressing the inaugural session of the new Parliament. President, who entered the chamber with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, listened to the debate while assuming the allocated seat. Meanwhile, Parliamentarian Rishad Bathiuddin, currently in remand custody, said that he may have signed as a witness for the marriage of one of the suicide bombers, Inshaf Ahmed. He made these remarks while recording a statement with the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on Easter Sunday attacks today. He recorded his statement via Skype from the main office of the magazine prison in Walikada. Parliamentarian Rishad Bathiuddin informed the Commission through his attorney that he wishes to record his statement before the Commission today in Tamil language. The chairman of the Commission said that the Commission has only one translator and the person has not reported to duties today due to a medical condition. However, the Commission convened a translator after lunch break for the parliamentarian to record his statement in Tamil. Responding to a query made by Senior State Counsel, the parliamentarian said that a person named Alauddin was the treasurer and the vice-treasurer of the party prior to his resignation from the party. Responding to a query, he said that he was informed via media that Alauddin's daughter was married to one of the suicide bombers, Inshaf Ahmed. He also said that he participated in the marriage as well. He said that upon the request of Alauddin, he may have signed for the marriage of his daughter.
Well, on other stories, the cremation ceremony of late Chief Prelate of the Sri Lanka Ramanya sect, Agamaha Pandita Most Venerable Napane Pemasiri Thera, is scheduled to be conducted with state honours on next Sunday, and the remains of late Chief Prelate are laid at the Vidyasagar Pirivena Viharasthana in Manikinna, Horikaduwa, for the general public to pay their last respects. Most Venerable Napane Pemasiri Nayaka Thera, who has rendered an invaluable service for the advancement of Buddha Sasana in the country for nearly 9 decades, has passed away while receiving treatment at the Peradina Teaching Hospital yesterday afternoon. He was 98 years old at the time of demise. Body of the late prelate was brought in a special procession to the Horikaduwa Vidyasagar Piriven Viharasthana in Manikinna this morning. The Mahasangha was in the forefront of the procession. A large gathering, including all religious leaders and people's representatives, were present to pay last respects. The funeral will be held at the Bandanayaka Vidyalaya grounds in Kundasale at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has issued a condolence message over the demise of the Chief Prelate. The message has indicated that the demise of the Chief Prelate has immensely saddened him. Also, the demise of the Chief Prelate is a great loss for the Buddhist community in the country as well as for the rest of the world. And the message further indicated that the Chief Prelate was a great leader among the Mahasangha who brought meaning to Buddha Sasana, rather Sambuddha Deshana. The late Chief Prelate devoted his entire priesthood for the betterment of the people, while on his Dhamma journeys to many parts of the country to preach an ethical society, the Chief Prelate committed in identifying the issues pertaining to those who pursue spirituality and provide solutions for them. The late Chief Prelate was awarded with many local and global accolades for his commitment towards the betterment of the Sambuddha Sasana. The President also remembered that the guidance he received from the late Chief Prelate in the formulation of the state policies Well, the condolence message issued by the President wished the late Chief Prelate, who had rendered a human service for the country and religion and may attain Nibbana.
In the meantime, a 21-day continuous Pirit recital to invoke blessings for the nation was presided over by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa yesterday evening at the Independence Square, Colombo. The aim of the recitation of Pirit is to invoke blessings onto the nation to eradicate the COVID-19 outbreak faced by the people of the country. The Pirit recital is organized by the Triforces and Sri Lanka Police under the instructions of Ministry of Defence. The recitation of Pirit program is conducted under the guidance and patronage of Chief Incumbent of Mahopadya Sri Kalyana Yogashrama of Sri Ramanya Sect, Venerable Pahalavitiyala Janananda Thera. 200 Aranyavasi bhikkhus scattered across the country have been gathered for this program. The placing of the casket of sacred relics and inviting of Mahasangha for the Pirit recital was held under the patronage of President Rajapaksa. Chief Advisor to the President Lalit Veeratunga, Secretary to the Prime Minister Gamini Senarath, Defence Secretary retired Major General Kamal Gunaratna and Head of Security Forces were also present at this occasion. And that's all the stories for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.
Good night.